In the chaos of Japan's warring states era, one man rose above the rest, Tokugawa Ieyasu. But behind every great leader, there are loyal warriors willing to risk it all. They were known as the Tokugawa Four Heavenly Kings. And among them stood the boldest speaker of truth, Sakakibara Yasumasa. He was a warrior on the battlefield, a politician in court. But more than anything, Yasumasa was the one who dared to speak up even to his lord. And somehow, instead of being punished for it, he earned deep trust. Let's take a journey through his incredible life. Born in 1548 in Mikawa Province, modern-day Aichi, Yasumasa came from a humble family of lower-ranking samurai. But from a young age, people noticed something different about him. At just 13 years old, he caught the attention of young Tokugawa Ieyasu and was brought into the household as a personal attendant. Even back then, he was sharp, loyal, and always 2 steps ahead. His first real battle came in 1563 during the Mikawa Ieyasu rebellion. Yasumasa hadn't even come of age yet, but he fought bravely and impressed Ieyasu, who rewarded him by granting part of his own name, Yasu, and from then on, he was Sakakibara Yasumasa. From that point on, Yasumasa fought in nearly every major Tokugawa campaign, Anigawa, Sekigahara, and Nagashino, just to name a few. But his true power wasn't just in wielding a sword. Yasumasa's real strength? Words. He was the kind of guy who could look a dangerous lord in the eye and say, "Sir, you're wrong," and not only survive but earn respect for it. Take Ieyasu's son, Nobuyasu, for example. He was smart, but also hot-headed, often treating others poorly. Yasumasa didn't hold back. He told Nobuyasu straight to his face what needed to be said. One day, Nobuyasu snapped. He pulled a bow on Yasumasa, ready to shoot. But Yasumasa didn't flinch. He calmly said, "I only speak these words because I care about you. If you kill me, heaven itself will pass judgment, and it won't be in your favor." That moment broke Nobuyasu's anger and made him reflect. That kind of bravery wasn't limited to his own side. In 1584, during the Battle of Komaki and Nagakute, Yasumasa led troops that devastated the enemy, including forces led by Toyotomi Hideyoshi's nephew. But the real drama, Yasumasa wrote a fierce open letter to Hideyoshi himself. "You murdered the sons of Nobunaga, your former lord, and now raise arms against his family? Surely, heaven will punish such betrayal." Yeah, Hideyoshi did not take that well. Hideyoshi was furious. He reportedly shouted, "Whoever brings me the head of the man who wrote this letter will be rewarded with 100,000 koku." For context, 100,000 koku equals enough rice to feed 100,000 people. That's insane. But war didn't last forever. Eventually, peace talks began between the Toyotomi and Tokugawa clans. And guess who was chosen as Tokugawa's representative? Yep, Sakakibara Yasumasa, the guy Hideyoshi had put a price on. When Yasumasa stood before Hideyoshi, the warlord said, "I wanted to see the head of the man who wrote that letter, but now that I've met you, I can see you're a true retainer. I respect that." He even held a banquet in Yasumasa's honor. That's the power of Yasumasa's loyalty. Even his enemies couldn't help but admire him. Later, Ieyasu granted him a fief of 100,000 koku in Tadabayashi, present-day Gunma Prefecture, where Yasumasa would go on to build much more than just a military outpost. He invested in flood control, roads, and temples. He built levees along the Tone and Waterways rivers and laid the foundations for the modern city. Even today, his legacy lives on in Zainyo-ji Temple, where he's buried. During the Battle of Sekigahara, Yasumasa wasn't with Ieyasu's main force. Instead, he accompanied Ieyasu's son, Tokugawa Hideyoshi, through the central mountain route. But trouble awaited them at Toyota Castle, where they were delayed by the legendary strategist Sanada Masayuki. Because of this delay, Hidetada's army arrived at Latedo, the biggest, most decisive battle of the era. Ieyasu was furious and refused to even meet his son afterward. Things were looking really bad for Hideyoshi. Enter Yasumasa. Calm as ever, he stood before Ieyasu and said, "The delay was due to late orders leaving Edo. The messenger was stuck in a flood and couldn't get through. Blaming only Lord Hideyoshi is unjust, my lord." Ieyasu listened. He nodded slowly. "Fair enough." Thanks to Yasumasa, father and son reconciled. Again, words saved a man from ruin. In the final years of his life, Yasumasa began to step away from politics. Some say he was pushed aside, others say he left on his own terms. Why? Because he believed. Old retainers clinging to power only hinder the future. He turned down bigger roles in the shogunate. Ieyasu, deeply moved, even gave Yasumasa a signed letter of personal debt. A rare and powerful gesture of trust. Few samurai ever earned such respect from a shogun. In 1606, just 3 years after Tokugawa Ieyasu established the Edo shogunate, Sakakibara Yasumasa fell ill. He had lived long enough to witness the peace he helped build, and then, quietly, he passed away. He was 59 years old. In a time when many samurai died young on the battlefield, that was a respectable age. But what truly lived on wasn't his body, it was his words, his loyalty, and his character. One of the people who mourned him most deeply was fellow Tokugawa General Naomasa. Interestingly, the two hadn't always gotten along. When Naomasa rose through the ranks at a young age, Yasumasa wasn't exactly thrilled about it. Yasumasa reportedly vented his frustrations to another of the 4 heavenly kings, Sakai Tadetsugu. But rather than fuel the fire, Tadetsugu encouraged reconciliation. Eventually, Yasumasa and Naomasa became close like real brothers. Yasumasa once said, "If I die first, Naomasa won't last long. If Naomasa goes first, I won't be far behind." And that's exactly how it played out. Naomasa died in 1602 from wounds sustained at Sekigahara. Just 4 years later, Yasumasa followed. It was as if their bond extended beyond death. After Yasumasa's passing, the Sakakibara family faced several political crises, including the threat of losing their domain. But each time, the legacy of Yasumasa's loyalty protected them. His name alone kept his descendants safe. Yasumasa's battlefield banner bore the simple character 6. No one knows the exact meaning, but some believe it symbolized selflessness, a mind free of ego, and a wish to remain a humble warrior. Among the Tokugawa 4 heavenly kings, Yasumasa stood out as the most versatile. He was a swordsman, a diplomat, a political thinker, and above all, a man who spoke truth to power. Even his quiet retirement spoke volumes about who he was. So here's the real question. Could you do what Yasumasa did? Could you risk everything to speak up to tell your boss, your leader, or even your friend the hard truth? Yasumasa did it, and that's why his name still echoes through history.